Hello everyone. This isn't really a normal video of mine. You see, I've been playing Arma 2 away, Operation Arrowhead, since it's been out. I've been a die-hard DayZ mod fan, that being the original mod developed by Rocket and his team, and despite the official release of the game, I really do love the modded versions of it, that being again on Arma 2. But as you may or may not know, the Arma series that pertaining to Arma 2 and Arma 3 are not optimized by any stretch of the imagination, with the majority of people blaming it on your RAM, SSD, or CPU. Well, of course, the most common of these arguments was the processor argument. People were certain until death that the only way you can get playable FPS or enjoyable FPS in any Arma title was that you need an i7, while others only insisting on overclocking that an i5 is more than capable of keeping up with an i7 and for a playable experience, with even a few people swearing by their i3s and putting the rest of their money into the GPU to help performance in Arma. You really wouldn't understand how many people have built PCs strictly around this game. This had a die-hard community back in the day, and hell, I was part of it. I built 3 computers all around Arma, hoping to get 60 FPS in town on the DayZ mod. Spoiler alert, none of those none of those computers did. After doing some research, everyone just seemed to say that you need an i7, with no validation. There are a few benchmark videos out there, but the results are either tampered with the recording methodology or the benchmarks themselves. Too many variables to account for, and not something I could replicate myself. So I took the liberty of spending my Thursday night at home gathering data. We will finally answer the age-old question, do you need an i7 for Arma? First of all, I have to explain my testing methodology. I'm not only taking the liberty of running Arma 2, but I have also done some benchmarks in Arma 3. So maybe modern players would have something to reference this to. I ran 4 custom benchmarks. For Arma 2, I've done a scene with a lot of battles, so it's not custom, it's actually benchmark number 2. It is something that you can do yourself at home, assuming you have the game, giving it a worst case scenario for that processor. This is not going to be relative to in-game performance at all. This is only going to be a precursor as to how an upgraded CPU could correlate in FPS in Arma 2. And then I did a scene with me being in the middle of Cherno, running to a street, looking at the fire station, stopping and looking around. Although basic, it is best for consistency. It will be a huge fundamental aspect for this following benchmarks. For Arma 3, I decided to do the first mission, the infantry showcase. I actually forgot the name, to be honest, but I did what was shown in the benchmark, the same movements and shooting and camera angles that at best help replicate the FPS across the board, give or take 1 to 3, because of course I cannot perfectly replicate it. I'm not a robot. Then I decided to go into Middle Kabbalah for the second benchmark, run around and look around. The benchmarks, again, seem very basic, but it's best for consistency. I did not test multiplayer because there are way too many variables to account for, and it would not be something you would be able to replicate yourself at home. For the CPU configurations, I manually change the clock speeds and core counts relative to what is shown. Keep in mind you have a similar processor, let's say the 4-core 4-thread configuration, supposed to be a 4670K or a 4690K, but you cannot exactly compare it to 4670K and 4690K due to cache sizes, which may be negligible, but will impact performance positively with the more cache you have for this architecture, not for every architecture. And also, do not pay attention to the FPS shown in Riva Tuner. This is again only base footage to show what I did, and sadly it was on and I forget to turn it off all the time, but at least you get to look at CPU utilization to see how it's going to be scaling across all these scenarios. And my specs are as followed. I have a 5820K at 4.4 GHz and 4 GHz. Those are the 2 frequencies we decided to test these at for each core configuration. We have 16 gigs of DDR4 ripjaws at 3000 MHz. We have a GTX 1070 at stock speeds, an ASRock X99 3.1/4/3.1, and SSDs for both. They're PNY cheap ass SSDs, 520 megabits per second read, 510 megabytes per second write. Megabytes, I don't know off the top of my head. Let's continue. It is late. Here we are. Now we have the settings that I'm using for Arma 3. This is a voiceover. You're going to notice how I don't turn off VSync. I didn't know that until I got done looking at all the averages for all the 4 benchmarks I did for the mock-up 6-core and the mock-up i7, being the 4-core 8-thread. Didn't have to redo those. It didn't change much, but for consistency's sake, it's very late. I had to redo it. And yeah, I'm gonna get done here soon, right? Yeah. Oh yeah. Anti-aliasing. You know. Gotta get that. That high shit. Let's keep going.
Papa Bear, this is Alpha. Be advised, contact spotted near the village. Do we engage? Over. Solid copy, Alpha Lead. Clear to engage. Papa Bear out. Okay, let's go. Move up. Jackson's down. Doc, check on him. The rest of you cover his fire. I've got him. Move up. Lacey, fire at that door. Front. Go. 100 meters front. Back one. I've got him. Papa Bear, this is Alpha. We've got Jackson. Stand by for update. Concentrate your fire down the valley. I've got him. Alpha 3, Papa Bear. Jackson's bleeding out. I don't have the supplies to deal with this. Requesting support in our position. Over. Acknowledged, Alpha 3. Wait one. Alpha 3, be advised. No support available. Sorry, guys. We're stretched thin here. Papa Bear out. Papa Bear, we're a man down and Op 4 back up and flooding into the valley. We've got to fall back. That's a negative, Alpha. Bravo can't hold out much longer. You must hit the village now. Over. Damn it. Okay, okay. We keep moving. Bravo still needs our support. Machine gunner, 75 meters. Front.
من پوشش میدم.
Well, you guys get the point. These are the settings I'm going to be using for Arma 2, and all the settings I used in Arma 3 and Arma 2 were carried out through all the benchmarks presented today. No variations, only consistency. Perfect. So at the end of all the results, we come to a conclusion. Is an i7 really worth the purchase in such a title, that being Arma 2 or Arma 3? Well, that's really up to you. As we see when overclocked or comparable near stock frequencies, the mock-up i5 is staying neck on the averages. The only time we see a bigger delta between the two is in the minimum frame rates, which will hurt your FPS in City when in fast action, but who's to say you can't overclock further? 4.4 GHz is a rather common frequency of a Haswell-based i5, and Skylake and Kaby Lake is only upgrade as we can see it from now, but negligible if so. As we saw, the 5820K at 4.4 GHz was practically ahead the whole time, or within 1 FPS of the mock-up 4790K, I'm going to call it, or 4770K of each other. But can we come to a conclusion that Arma is CPU intensive, that being Arma 2 or 3? Yes, we can. But do you really need an i7? On that note, I'm going to be heading off. I only expected this video to take about an hour or so to do, but now we are on 5. This is one of the hardest videos I have ever done, and I do really hope you guys liked it and the time and effort that went into it. If you ever have any questions or requests for other games I can test like this, please let me know. And a little bit of a side note, all tests were redone, it's very late as you can see, were redone 3 times. So all the numbers you see are from the averages of those 3 trial tests to try and remove any possible error of me moving the camera a different angle or something. It's what I can do with the time I had. I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and